for his question, he didn't derive the answer. He got the answer from Galileo Galilei. He was the first person to study about accelerated motion and establish the first equation of kinematics. He was the person to propose the law of inertia. The interesting thing is, Galileo's father wanted him to make a doctor. He joined doctor course in Italy, but he didn't complete it. She was much interested in mathematics and she moved on to maths. Later on, she became the renowned scientist in the world. So whenever you want to do research, try to do the research in your interested area. So now let us enter into our topic. So according to me, these are the three masters in science: designing the experiment, performing the experiment, and writing the thesis. Experimental design, it's an art of scientific investigation. It consists of 3 steps. As I pointed out, you should post a right question, then only you can get the right answer, and it should have a logical thinking. Once you get the right question, you can plan it well. If you are going to be organizing with a systematic approach, you will get the answer. Once you get the answer, you can interpret the data, which is going to be a significant finding. So, if you ask me, how can I ask the right question? If you want to ask the right question, you should have a biological insight and logical thinking. Here you can see the picture of Alexander Fleming, who discovered penicillin. It was an accidental discovery. But you know what Alexander Fleming was planning? He is not a mycologist. He was a bacteriologist. He was searching for an antimicrobial compound in the human tears. Kannillandu antimicrobial compound edukonu romba aasapatta. He was interested in identifying, discovering antimicrobial compound from human tears. But accidentally, he noticed that in one of the Petri plate, there was a fungal growth, and you see the picture nearby. You can see the picture here. In this picture, nearby the fungus, there was no bacterial growth. This was the logical thinking. The first question arised in his mind is, why there is no bacterial growth nearby fungi? This made him to get the answer that the fungus release specific compounds which is not allowing the bacteria to grow. The discovery of antibiotics came into existence. But logical thinking alone will not help. You should have a biological insight. What is a biological insight? If you ask me, very simple. You would have been studying biology from your 5th or 6th standard, and you have got more knowledge about it because you are in college, in an engineering college, and some of the students are doing your PhD course. But if you ask me, learn from the basic, then only you can do the research correctly. According to me, I'm a person working on the signals in the cells. For that, I should know about the chemistry of cell, the structure of a cell, how the cell functions. And once the cell started functioning, it will lead to cell behavior. So I should know the basics of cell chemistry, cell structure, cell physiology, and cell behavior. How can I know it, sir? I started my research from understanding the 6th standard chemistry. Without that, I can't get a clear picture. Exactly, would have studied about atoms. Atoms are substances, the minute particles, which consist of proton, electrons, and neutrons. And atom will be stable when the proton and the electron number are equal. The protons are positively charged and the electrons are negatively charged.
Excuse me, sir.
If an
Sir, sorry for the
yes,
interruption, sir. Your screen is not visible.
no problem.
There was an interruption. Yeah, yes, sir. There was an
Again,
interruption. Somebody has turned off their screen. So
okay.
your screen went hidden. Yes, sir.
Again, I have
Please, sir.
to- Can you see the screen now? Shankar
Yes, sir.
Ganesh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's right, sir.
Okay, right. So the atom consists of protons and electrons. The protons number and the electron number should be equal. That is, the positive charge and the negative charge should be equal in a stable atom. If they are not going to be equal, then the atom becomes an ion. Once the atom becomes an ion, it tries to be, it moves towards stabilizing its nature. For that, they get an electron from a nearby atom or they donate, which we call it as ionic bonding. So two atoms join together to form a molecule. For example, your hydrogen and oxygen will join together to form a water molecule. Likewise, the carbon, nitrogen, and oxygen, they join together to form a glucose moiety. The carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen will join together to form as a fatty acid and amino acids. So you have to understand that all these substances in the cells are made up of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, etc. So carbon, nitrogen, oxygen will form the glucose. The chain of glucose will form the carbohydrates. The chain of fatty acids will form the lipids. The chain of amino acids will form the proteins. All these macromolecules will join together to form an organelle and they form into a cell. So a cell is made up of only carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen. A group of cells is called a tissue. A group of tissue is called an organ. Different organ system is called an organ system. Different organ systems forms a organism. So starting from an atom, I have ended up with an organism. But now the question is, sir, where can I start my research? I want to know what is happening issue. Number two. Number three, I want to know what is happening inside an organism. And number four, I want to know what is happening between two different species. Finally, I had a question, how these abiotic factors are acting on the biotic factors. Very simple. I started asking question. So I started understanding the cell intracellular communication, where the signals will enter into the cell and they go for a biological effect. The same thing, if the signal is within the cell, it is intracellular communication. If the signal is between two different cells, it becomes intercellular communication. If it is going to be two different organisms of same species, a dog and a dog, the male dog can identify the female dog by specific volatiles. We call them as pheromones. This is called as intraspecific communication. There are signals which also involve in interspecific communication. For example, the honeybee and the flower. Honeybee is a different species and flower is a different species. The flower produces volatiles which attract the honeybee. The honeybee helps for cross-pollination. This is interspecific communication. Finally, your biotic and abiotic factors, the interaction between the biotic and abiotic factors, where the climate, temperature, pH plays a major role between living organism and a non-living organism. It made me interesting how these cells are interacting to the responses. As I pointed out, a cell can signal within itself. It is called as autocrine. If it is signaling the nearby cell, it is called as paracrine. And if it's going to be work on a distant cell, it's going to be endocrine. So you would have studied in your cell biology, that is, the signaling molecule will be entering to the receptor of a target cell. They lead to a biological effect which is called as signal transduction. Finally, the signal has to reach the DNA, the gene, and they go for a gene expression. If you see your acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter where it acts on heart cell, muscle cell, and even in a salivary gland cell. But the function of acetylcholine varies. It varies. For example, in heart cell, they involve in decrease in the rate of force of contraction, whereas in the muscle cell, it is involved in contraction. Whereas the same acetylcholine is going to work in the salivary amylase secretion. So the same signal can have a different function, so that the animal will use that signal for survival, growth or divide, or for differentiation, or for death, apoptosis. Sir, whatever you told us is we already know, sir. What are you going to tell you, which we are expecting from you? Yes, now I started first the biological insight. I started understanding the way of function of cell. Once I understood, I started my research in 1998 with diclofenac monosodium. It's a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. It is given for pain. I took this drug and gave it to the rats for 4 days and 15 days. During the treatment for 4 days, there was no change. But in 15 days treatment, there was a reduction in testosterone level. This made me somewhat shocking, and I was able to see that there was a reduction in the sperm count, and the histoarchitecture of the testis was totally destroyed. I did this experiment in 1998 when I was doing my MPhil. At that time, I thought I have discovered something great. I went to the doctor and told him, "See, doctor, I have discovered one thing. You're giving diclofenac monosodium to patients, but in patient it is reducing the testosterone level and it is reducing the sperm count for 15 days treatment." I told him that to check the toxicity. She immediately replied me that, "See, Dr. Achiraman, this diclofenac is given for pain. When there is a pain in a patient, we give it for 3 to 5 days. With that, we will stop it. You are giving these drugs for a longer duration. Then you are saying it is affecting testosterone. It is case of arthritis patient. We are giving diclofenac. What about that?" Immediately, doctor told me, "See, the patients with arthritis are above 40 or 50. So we don't have a problem with reproduction." Then I understood my total research was wrong. Why I am saying is, see students, when you choose your research, be very, very careful that it should have some novel idea in it. So the total work for 1.5 years was a total waste for me, and I was not able to publish in a good journal. Finally, I published it in a local journal, and participants, I kindly request, don't ever publish it in local journals. Kindly publish it in reputed with impact factor. Otherwise, it's a total. So 1.5 years of my research was a total waste, I thought. But it changed in 2003. There was a news that the Indian vulture population has started declining. And they came to a conclusion that I was shocked how this diclofenac has entered into this vulture. Is it possible for this? In our department, Professor Babu Rajendran was working on the pollutants in Kaveri river water, and he was able to discover that, identify that these Kaveri river water. It's really shocking. The Kaveri river water contains your brufin, your prosin, your metacin, everything is present in Kaveri water. Now I understood why there is a infertility problem in India, because we are using more pollutants which are reducing the fertility rate in India. So my research had some meaning. This was the paper published by Professor Babu Rajendran. Okay, that was a brief idea why I went into reproductive activity. So from here onwards, I'll be explaining my work, how I designed my experimental work, and how I performed the work, and how I wrote the thesis, right? So first you have to understand the steps in experimental designing. By choosing the research field, you have to choose the research topic, you have to explore the research field, literature survey, you have to develop the rationale of your study. Based on the rationale of your study, you have to frame your hypothesis study. Based on the aim of the study, you have to derive your objectives. Only then you can design the experiment. So, sir, how can I choose the research field? Simple. Since you are all biotechnologists, you can choose from any one of the aquaculture, etc. I am much interested in medical biotechnology, as Dr. Sankaresh Arnachalam pointed out. We both used to discuss about more medical biotechnology rather than other biotechnologies. So I chose medical biotechnology. Now choosing the research topic. How can I choose the research topic? Simple. It should be from interesting observations, like Sir Isaac Newton, or like starting my research. Otherwise, you can get information based on the literature survey or by logical thinking. Otherwise, if you have a sound background, myself, I'm also interested in indigenous traditional knowledge, and you can also develop by getting informations from inspiring talks from eminent scientists. See, one of the interesting observations which I noticed is, you can see here, this is a protozoan, Toxoplasma gondii. It is microscopic organism, and you are seeing a bird there, and you are seeing a snail there. These three have a interesting story. You won't even imagine that. That is, generally, these snails will be in the bottom or in the floor of the area. They won't move to the top of the tree. They won't move upwards towards the top of the tree. If they move towards the top of the tree, they will get exposed to the sunlight. Once they exposed to the sunlight, the bird will identify the snail and they will eat the snail to escape from the. But what happens is, when this protozoan enter into the snail, they will change the behavior of the snail and make the snail microscopic organism. It can change the behavior of the snail so that the protozoan can enter into the bird. Yes. So it's a very simple thing. I was a single protozoan can modify the brain of a snail. Interestingly, when I searched for the information and came to know that once these protozoans enter into the mice, they opposite sex. So it is a partner. The mice thinks that cat is their partner. Towards the cat means the cat will eat. So the microbe can change the behavior of mice. Sir, it is changing the behavior of mice. It is changing the behavior of snail. Can it change the behavior of human? Where this Toxoplasma gondii, when entry into humans, they involve in blocking the dopamine synthesis in the brain. Thereby, it leads to a disease called schizophrenia. See, a chemical from a protozoan can induce a disease in a human where the behavior of the human will be changed. Hysteria வந்து கத்துறாங்கன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க இல்லையா, that is called as schizophrenia, which is caused by Toxoplasma gondii. Now, good, there are interesting observations. Now I have to choose my interesting observation. Yes, I looked around me. When I was going nearby a temple, I was seeing that the ladies are, women are circumambulating the Ficus religiosa. அரசமரத்தை சுத்தி வந்துட்டு இருந்தாங்க. This was shocking to me. Why they are doing it? Is there a God to help them? Okay, let it be myth. But I am a scientist. I want to know the reason. Is there any science behind this? Is the trees doing any help to the woman? Then I came to know that only the infertile women were asked to circumambulate the tree in the early hours of the morning. This was highly interesting. I don't know why they have done it like this. What is the reason? What may be the reason behind this? Immediately I start asking question myself. Okay, right? By going around the tree, the women will be walking. So it's a physical exercise. It may lead to mitigate the obesity. So energy demand can be saved. First point. Second point, they can get oxygen from the Ficus religiosa. Ficus religiosa ஓட தமிழ் பேர் வந்து அரச மரம். எதுக்கு அரசன் கொடுத்தாங்கன்னா மரங்களில் அரசன், because they are able to release more amount of oxygen compared to all other plants. Only 3 plants can give this. One is tulasi, the next one is bamboo, and the third one is Ficus religiosa. So I understood, yes, oxygen is an important one. We need it. You know, in COVID cases also, what they do, or they suggest, go and do yoga to get more amount of oxygen inside your body. Once the oxygen enters into your body, what happens? The oxygen will enter into the blood. Inside the blood, from the blood, the oxygen will be reaching your cell. From the cell, the oxygen will be entering into your mitochondria. Inside the mitochondria, the oxygen is involved in oxidative phosphorylation, where your ATP is synthesized. Now I understood. Being a scientist, I understood that, yes, early morning walking will help you in getting more amount of oxygen to keep your body more healthy. And the third question I suspected is, the plant should release some phytovolatiles, some phytochemicals. This is my logical thinking. Okay, my logical thinking is whether the phytovolatiles can be released from a plant. Okay, we know that because from flower we can get the smell. So I know that yes, phytovolatiles are releasing from plants. So the leaf might have released some volatiles. But the next question is whether these volatiles can be perceived by humans. Once you want to design an experiment, try to ask as much as questions as you can and try to get the answer. Then only your research will be successful. So I started asking many questions. One such question is, okay, if this volatile is released into the environment, can it reach the human? Yeah, they can enter via the olfactory system, or they can enter via the respiratory system so that they can reach the lungs. Okay, I assume that it is going to reach the lungs. What happens after it reaches the lungs? I know that the lungs, the respiratory system consists of alveoli, your air sacs, where the blood system is nearby. So I suspected that these volatiles should have entered into the bloodstream. From the bloodstream, they should have reached a target site. What is going to be a target cell? According to me, since it's going to be infertility, I suspected that the signal should have reached the ovary. What happens when they reach the ovarian cell? The signaling molecule should have entered into the cytoplasm. From the cytoplasm, they should have carried by the receptor, intracellular receptors, and they should have bound with the DNA to produce the proteins. So that proteins might have been involved in fertility enhancement. And the DNA should have produced some proteins. That protein should have been involved in curing the disease. So my logical thinking is right. Now, I have other questions to be answered. The questions are whether these volatiles can involve in changing their hormone profile or changing the behavior or changing the menstrual cycle, because these women who are circumventing the tree are infertile. So the problem should be they should have irregular menstrual cycle. So we have to correct the menstrual cycle. In such case, the phytoconstituents should change the hormone level. So I started asking many questions. I have to get the answer. For this, I have to explore the research topic by searching for literature survey. When you search for literature, you be clear that your idea is novel. Okay, you know the boundaries of your research problem, and you have to understand the lacunae in specific areas. A leaf can change the behavior of human. I have to get the answer. I searched for a literature. I came across one of this important literature where you can see a picture here. The leaf is being eaten up by a caterpillar. Okay, once the caterpillar start eating the leaf along with the saliva of caterpillar will produce some volatile. That wasp will eat this caterpillar. See, a natural biotechnological approach by a leaf to get prevented from caterpillar. It's an excellent idea. Now I understood. Yes, a chemical from a leaf can be released and it can be perceived by other organisms. Immediately, I went on for a literature survey about whether there are reports regarding Ficus religiosa. I started searching and I identified that there are many reports regarding. There was no reports how this Ficus religiosa is regulating menstrual cycle through gene expression. This was lacking. So a signal from the plant can change the gene expression for curing menstrual irregularities. I understood this. Then I am sure that I have to see the rationale of my study. I went for my rationale of the study where I identified there are reasons. I know that, yes, the phytovolatile is going to act. This is going to be my rationale of my study. Based on the rationale, I have to frame the hypothesis. Yes, how I can frame the hypothesis? You can see here that based on the literature survey and lacunae, we have to have critical and creative thinking, reasoning. We have to use our logical thinking and common sense for framing this hypothesis. Exactly, myself and Dr. Shankar Ganesh Arunachalam was working on a part. If the glucose is not entering into the cell, if the glucose is not entering into the cell from the blood, what happens? This was a question asked by myself and Dr. Shankar Ganesh Arunachalam, and we came to know that the glucose and fatty acids are uptaken by the cell with the help of PPR gamma. So we thought of inhibiting the PPR gamma. If this PPR gamma is inhibited, so the glucose from the blood, glucose and fatty acids from the blood will not enter into the cell. Immediately we framed some questions like what happens if the glucose is not entering or the fatty acid is not entering. In such cases, the cell will not receive glucose and fatty acids. At the same time, the glucose and fatty acid level will be increased in blood. That will lead to diabetes, that will lead to atherosclerosis, and we suspected that it will lead to energy demand. Simple questioning and answering led us to publish an hypothesis in Fitz letter. So whenever you ask a question and you are going to get an answer, you can derive an hypothesis and you can publish your hypothesis alone. You need not publish your full paper. Okay, now we'll come to our subject. So I am clear now. What it is entering? It is entering into the blood. It is entering into the ovary. So I hypothesized that the leaves of Ficus religiosa may have the ability in reviving the regularity of estrous cycle in rat model, because I can't test it in a human model. So I want to check whether this Ficus religiosa is able to regulate menstrual cycle in human, but they won't allow us to do because of ethical clearance, as pointed out by Professor Sundar. We can't do it. So we have to choose a model for our study. So I have chosen that model. So based on the hypothesis, I went for the aim of the study. Regarding the aim of the study, it should be brief, it should be clear, it should not be it should be written in simple sentences. No paragraph should be used. 2 or 3 sentences should be there. So this was the aim of the study, to scientifically validate the traditional cycle in polycystic ovarian syndrome induced rat model. In case of humans, we call it as menstrual cycle. In case of rats, we call them as estrous cycle. In humans, the menstrual cycle will be for 28 to 35 days, whereas in case of rats, it will be for 4 to 6 days. So this was our aim of our study. Once the aim of the study is designed, I decided for the objective of my study. How should we frame the objective? It should be exploring the hypothesis. It should be self-explainable. It should be in bullet forms. It should be clear. And important thing is your objective should answer all possible questions which I asked in the introduction part. So now I understood that I have to search for the phytovolatiles in the leaf, number 1. Number 2, I have to check whether the leaf extract is able to change the hormonal profile in the female, infertile female rats, and I have to identify the mechanism. So my objectives clearly told me what I have to do. Based on that, I went for the designing of the experiment. So now I know what I'm going to search. I should make clear that all the questions should be answered in the experiment. So as the main important steps in good experimental design is, first, define your objective, devise a strategy, set down all the operational details. So based on the objectives, I have to design all the parameters for my study. Strategies, I should be clear how I'm going to give the treatment, how I'm going to analyze the results. The strategies should be clear. Then how I'm going to perform the experiment without any mistakes. These 3 are very, very important in an experimental design. And the important aspects to be considered during experimental design is, it should be reliable, it should have repeatability, it should be accurate, it should have credibility, standard protocol should be followed, that should be a systematic approach, and we should follow the guidelines for ethical. And finally, there should be a control group. So, okay, I know that I have to test this infertility model. So I have to choose the disease. Since it's related to fertility, I thought I can work on polycystic ovarian syndrome. And the model system, I thought I can use in vivo animal model system. And I have to induce this disease in rats, and I have to test the samples, and I have to check the parameters. So regarding infertility model, I was studying, looking for an infertility model in females. You can see that three important diseases were noted in females regarding infertility. One is in the uterus region, another one is in the fallopian tube region, and the third one is in the ovarian region, where the polycystic ovarian syndrome is one of the important disease in the ovary. So I chose this PCOS, one of the important disease, because World Health Organization estimates nearly 160 million women are affected by this PCOS. Okay, I have decided I'm going to work on PCOS rat model. Here we can use in vitro model like cell lines, rat models. You can use 3D cell cultures, and you can work on non-human primate models. But for convenience, I choose rodent model for my research. So now I have chosen a female rat for my study. Now I have to induce the female rat to go for infertility. I searched for PCOS infertility. I came to know that letrozole, a drug which is capable of inhibiting an enzyme called aromatase, where that lead to induction of PCOS. Sir, biotechnology students, we are biotechnology students, you are more going into core which we can't understand. I'll make it more simply for you. Here you can see the female reproductive system, which consists of ovary, fallopian. This is the ovary, this is the fallopian tube, and this is the uterus. The egg will be produced in the fallopian tube, in the ovary, where the egg get matured. Once the egg get matured, they will be released into the fallopian tube. Once they move towards the fallopian tube, if there is a fertilization, the sperm, where they form into a zygote, the zygote undergoes division, and finally they undergo differentiation to form into an embryo. The embryo will get attached to your endometrium of uterus. The baby will develop. Simple egg. ரொம்ப சிம்பிளா சொல்லியிருக்கேன். Just the egg will produce in the ovary, released in the fallopian tube. In the fallopian tube, the sperm will fertilize the egg. The egg will get implanted into the uterus. For this, for this process to happen, they need 4 important hormones: luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, estrogen, and progesterone. I'm not going to take much time here. Estrogen is one of the important hormone for fertility, right? How this estrogen hormone is produced? The blood from the cholesterol from the blood will be entering into your ovary. The ovary consists of 2 types of cells, that is thecal and granulosa cells. The cholesterol which entered into the cell will be converted into testosterone and later on into estrogen. The conversion of testosterone to estrogen needs an enzyme called aromatase. If the letrozole inhibits this aromatase, then the testosterone level get increased, and there won't be production of estrogen in the rat. So I took a normal female rat, I gave the letrozole to the rat, the letrozole went into the ovary, it stopped the aromatase, and it stopped the conversion of testosterone to estrogen. So the testosterone level rised inside the female rat, which leads to formation of many cysts in the ovary, which is called as polycystic ovarian syndrome. Simple. I have developed an induced model using rat. Good. Now I have controlled rats without any treatment, normal female rats. Then I have PCOS induced rats. Now I have to give plant extract treatment to the rats. So I need 3 groups of rats. But the question is, how many samples I have to take? In case of rodent model, we suggest that there should be minimum 6 to 10. Don't use 1 sample, you won't get statistical analysis. Few samples is okay, but see that if you are getting a significant p value. You can go for many samples per group, but the problem is you have to waste money for animals, chemicals, and you also waste time. So try to have fewer samples per group with statistical significance. Exactly 2 ideologies were proposed by Carl Pearson and Ronald Fisher, where they have suggested, one of them is suggesting that you do it with few samples, another person is suggesting with more samples, but I will suggest you to work with few samples. So once I understood this, I started grouping animals, control groups, PCOS induced groups, and treated groups. You can see the full experimental design of my. So I gave the fresh fruit, fresh leaf extract and dried leaf extract to the rats in different groups. The first one is intact without any treatment. Second group is vehicle, because for letrozole we added some DMSO, so we added it as a vehicle. Then we had PCOS induced group, and we used standard drug pioglitazone for PCOS treatment. We also used a standard drug. We used 3 treatments of the plant extract, and we went for analyzing the parameters. So I have to check whether there is a menstrual irregularity. Number 2, whether there is a change in hormone level. Number 3, whether there is a change in gene expression. You don't read everything; it will be confusing for you. I make it very simple. Only the regulation of estrous cycle. Number 2, hormone profile. Number 3, whether gene expression has changed. So with this idea, I designed my experiment with all possible questions. Now I have to perform the work. For that, I have to check the treatment schedule, how much dose I'm going to give, what duration, what mode of administration, everything has to be checked. Which I gave it in the experimental design itself. You can see the treatment days, 30 days of treatment. You can see the animals I have used, 6 animals per group. And regarding the dose, we are using 100 mg per day, 300 mg per day, and 300 mg per day, right? So with this, I performed the experiments, and we went for the sacrifice. We collected these samples, and we went for analyzing the blood samples like hormone level and your histological biochemical analysis. When we check the estrous cycle, I told you that generally the estrous cycle continues for 4 to 6 days in a regular manner. But in my study, stopped at a particular stage called diestress, whereas my leaf extract started moving regularly and the animal was in regular estrous cycle. This was the first finding I identified. That is, once I induced PCOS, the cyclicity was arrested. In the same animal, when I gave the plant extract, there was an irregular cycle. Then I checked for the hormone. Yes, after giving the leaf extract, the testosterone level came down and the estrogen level went up. So I'm sure that the leaf is containing some chemical to alter this study. Enzyme was upregulated in case of leaf extract, whereas in PCOS induction there was no upregulation. You can see the testosterone. Once you get the data, try to present it in a figure instead of table. Figures can give clear explanation for the readers, and they will show. Here you can see clearly that all the groups, the testosterone level was reduced, but in case of control group, in case of PCOS induced group. So I'm sure that if you put it in a figure, you can strongly say that your data is going to be attractive for the reader. So now I am clear that the chemical from the leaf extract is changing the hormone level, and it's changing the gene level. I went inside, I did qPCR analysis, and we are able to prove that the aromatase gene level was highly upregulated in case of plant extract. Here I gave oral treatment as well as spray, and shockingly, even in spray also, the aromatase gene was highly upregulated. This made me shocking, and I was able to identify that this was done by GCMS analysis for identifying the phytovoltaics. I was able to identify the propionic acid, a compound released from the plant, is capable of activating the aromatase gene. I went and checked each and every gene, and I was able to convince that my extract, leaf extract, is having a chemical that is capable of upregulating the aromatase gene, thereby converting the testosterone to estrogen. So it is not a myth, it's a reality. And immediately I went for patent filing. I published the patent, and I'm happy to say that the patent was awarded in 2019. And currently there were more confusion again in me because I was checking for the propionic acid. I came to know that the propionic acid is produced by a bacteria, Propionum bacteria. Now the question in me is whether the propionic acid is produced by the leaf extract or a propionic bacteria present inside the leaf. This is my future research going on. Okay, good. I designed my experiment, I performed my experiment, and I am sure that my experiment has given some significant findings which has been patented. How to write this? Dr. Sanjay Ganesh, is there time for me to speak?
Yes, sir. Please go on, sir.
What is the time for me? When should I complete?
We have time, sir. We have 10 more minutes for your session. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How many minutes? 10 minutes. Okay, I'll finish within 10 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So once I got information, I have to report it. Here, you can report your information by filing a
Sir?
patent, number one, or you can go for a
Sir?
presentation, or
Excuse
you can
me,
go
sir.
for a conference presentation. Yes,
Sir,
Shankar?
the screen is not visible.
Screen is like, why?
It is visible.
Oh, okay.
Visible.
Okay.
Sorry. I think Tanu has added her presentation, it seems.
Oh, okay.
Shankar
Okay,
Ganesh?
okay. Yeah. Yeah,
No problem.
Tanu?
He has uploaded her presentation.
Yeah. She's checking, I think.
It's 5 to 10 minutes. Sorry for the extension of
It's
time.
okay, sir.
Sir, just a minute, sir. I'll talk to her. So, Dr. Parmar, Tanu Parmar, she's there. Yeah, yes, sir. Now you can present, sir.
Yeah. Can you see the screen? Shankar Ganesh, can you see the screen?
Sir, just a minute.
Just a minute, sir.
Went off.
Sir, can you present it again, sir?
Yes,
Or
sir.
can you?
Please present
Yes.
it again.
No.
Yeah, I'll do it again.
No.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
I'll go for resume.
No.
Again, she has done it. Oh,
Yes,
sorry.
sir. Yes, sir. Sorry. So, Dr. Tanu, can you hear me? Hello. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir.
Sir, if anybody pins your name,
No problem, no problem.
your presentation is visible, sir, as well. I can see your screen. Yes, sir,
Is my
it is
presentation
visible.
visible?
Oh, okay. Okay,
That's what
okay.
I'm asking.
Okay.
Then why?
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. So we have to pin you.
It's not allowing me to present.
No, your presentation is visible for us, sir.
Sir, please go ahead, sir.
Okay, that's what I'm seeing. But you are no longer here. It's showing that I'm no longer presenting. That's what. Okay,
Yes, sir.
can you see the
Yes, sir.
screen now?
Yes, sir.
Good. So I don't want to take much time. Regarding writing, your abstract should be, it should contain the following aspects: the background of your information within 1 or 2 sentences, and the motivation for doing your work should be given in 1 sentence. And your hypothesis should be clear, your aim, brief methodology, significant, and finally your abstract should contain the scope of the study, right? And regarding the introduction part, it is very, very important when you are writing the introduction part. You have to see that you should define the problem, and you should state what is the problem to be solved. You have to provide the state of art of work in that area. And main thing is, in the concluding part of your introduction, your rationale of the study, your hypothesis, your aim and objective should be given with scope of study. I think next Dr. Tanu will be giving about the from protocol to report. She will be explaining more clearly about this introduction part, your review of literature part, because these are the things which can be discussed by here. So I don't want to take much time here. You can just know what is review of literature. You should have the strength and weakness. You should understand the topic. You should cite all the key studies, and you should link how your study is linked with that study. Four, the main thing is you should demarcate the research problem. Regarding methodology writing, I think Dr. Tanu will be giving a clear picture about how we are going to write this methodology. Result section also, I think she will give a clear picture, because I thought of giving full writing about the thesis, but I came to know that about protocol to report writing. That will be more important, because this will be only for thesis writing, which I think later on Dr. Shankar Ganesh Annachalam can also give it. So I'm moving to the discussion part. These are to be remembered in the discussion part, where the principal finding, interpretation of the finding should be given, the implications should be given, and the limitations in the methodology should be explained in the discussion part. And finally, the conclusion part should be very precise to your particular point which you have to conclude. Don't write paragraphs regarding your conclusion. References, that should be a standard format, and appendices should be added. So this is my chemical ecology research lab, and I'm proud to say that Dr. Shankar Ganesh Devraj is my student. He did his PhD under my guidance, and he worked on goat, one of the interesting aspect in livestock production. And we are dealing with chemical ecology, how these chemicals are interacting with wild animals in agriculture, in pharma, and even in livestock production. Even we are also trying in aquaculture. This is a team. Exactly, I have to mention about this girl, Dr. Surya Kala, who is the person who fully worked on this Ficus religiosa. I didn't do any bit of work in this presentation. All this work has been done by Dr. Suryakala. Because of her, I got this patent, and her work was recognized by DST, and they provided a national postdoc fellowship for her, which she did it at Bharathiar University, Coimbatore. And this is my team. I have a big team. Everybody is working on different aspects. I'm a person working on obesity, livestock production, cancer, nanotechnology, etc. So I have a big team, and I have a good collaborator, an excellent collaborator, Dr. Shankar Ganesh Annachalam, because we used to discuss a lot. She helped me a lot in deriving hypothesis. He is a person, if you ask a question to Dr. Shankar Ganesh Arunachalam, he will start at searching for the answer, and in the next day, she will be giving many answers for a single question. And it will be difficult for us to get the exact answer because she will be seeing with different approach. He's an excellent person, I have to say this here. And with this, and finally, I have to thank, this is my new current team working on research. And whenever I give a talk, I will always thank my guide, Dr. G. Arjunan, without whom I wouldn't have understand what is research. Very nice person. He made me to understand research and made me to get all the awards because of him. So I should thank Professor Arjunan, my guide, and thank you for your patient hearing. Any doubts?
Thank you very much, sir, for your wonderful presentation and details on the three aspects, key aspects of any research field, actually. So you almost covered everything, and it's just completely gave an overview about the topics what we are going to discuss in detail in subsequent sessions. So I request the participants to have your questions. You can either type your questions in the chat box, or you can unmute your mic. And if you don't have any background noise, then you can ask the question directly. Thank you. Thank you very much. Sir, I can read out one question. It was from Satya. So, what are all the criteria to be considered while calculating different dosage levels to be given to animal models?
Yeah, the dosage level. According to your study, you have to decide that one. Because when you are choosing the dose, it's very, very important. Because you can't give a particular dose to any testing animal. So you should have a reason why you choose this dose. For that, you can get it from literature survey, whether the same compound has been given earlier or not. Otherwise, you have to go for testing LC50 and LD50 value, the lethal dose concentration of 50 and lethal dose 50. So my part is going for LD50 and LC50 in rat model is really, really tough. So if you have any literature, go for LC and LD50 values. Otherwise, you can do some in vitro work for deciding the dosage. Because based on the cell line work, you can get the concentration which is going to be effective. So in such cases, do work with in vitro models, in cell line models, then you can take it to the rodent models.
Sir, there is one more question from. Yes, sir. Sir, there is one more question from Sundar Madasamy. So,
he's asking question, it's not audible.
Sir, is it audible now?
Proceed.
Yeah. So there is one question from Sundar Madasamy. So he's asking, what are the effects of repeated chemical signaling in the normal cell and apoptosis cell? I can put the question in other way.
Yeah.
So he's asking something like, what about the cell signaling between a normal cell and a cell which is dying? Yes.
No. The question asked by him is very correct, Shankar, regarding Professor Sundar. He's asking, that is a repeated signaling. This is going to be a real problem. Okay. In our case, when I was working with this Ficus religiosa, they told me that the infertile women should circumambulate only in the early hours of the morning for 15 to 20 times, not more than that. Because at that time, the leaf is also releasing another compound called isoprene, which is causing damage to humans. So you should be very, very careful when you are doing your research. But repeated signaling is happening regularly in our body. Many pollutants are regularly, repeatedly affecting us. So only our tissues are undergoing for apoptosis. The thing is, once a cell gets repeated signal, there will be oxidative stress in the cell. Once there is more oxidative stress in the cell, it will lead to apoptosis. This is the main problem. So only I suggest, as per our tradition and belief, oxygen is very, very important. Try to get fresh oxygen, which will involve in reducing the oxidative stress. So the survival rate will be high. The question is really interesting, Shankar, but the answer is very difficult, I should say.
Thank you, sir.
Shankar?
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. So there is one more question, sir. Most of the time, the known standard gives higher values compared to the test in comparison to test due to purity of compound. Does it mean
Yes.
the work is not significant?
Yeah, when the purity of compound is not clear, then the work cannot be significant. That is a big problem we have. If the purity of the compound, because if the compound is going to be mixed with another compound, the total effect will be changed. That we have a problem. In some cases, I think Shankar Ganesh, you should have realized when we are doing cancer studies where the control rats showed abnormal data, isn't it? We faced with that problem also. So you have to remember that purity of compound is very, very essential. The animal studies, you have to cross check that all your animals are with healthy nature. Otherwise, your data will be wrong. Purity of compounds, yes, it's going to be a problem, but we can't say it is significant value when there is a mixture in that compound. Yes, Shankar.
Yes, sir. Participants, do you have any more questions to clarify? Please post your questions.
I think she's waiting, Pa. Already we have 15 minutes back.
Okay, sir. So if there are no more questions, we can conclude this session. And we will share the participants about the email IDs of all the presenters in the website. So you can make use of it. You can contact them further for your future research and collaborations and any idea or help or suggestion for anything. Right. So with this, I wholeheartedly thank Dr. Rachiraman sir, who is my beloved PhD supervisor, who always stand behind the students, behind the success of every student. So with that, I thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your time being with us. And since it is something like a new presentation, most of I would like to make note to participants. These presentations are completely new, so everybody has taken so much of their time to prepare the presentation. It's not something like the work what we have done in the laboratory. So amidst of the busy schedule, all the speakers spent most of their time to prepare a first presentation. So I thank Dr. Rachiraman sir for his wonderful presentation and his time to deliver the talk in this workshop. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, Ganesh.
Shankar Ganesh, can I make an announcement?
Yes, sir.
Dear participants, while you are filling in the feedback form, you need to give the unique